Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's Social Security Anniversary event. I'm Marguerite Rose, State Director for AARP Washington. Before we get started, please be sure to put your Zoom on mute and please put questions into the chat box below. Social Security's 90th anniversary is on August 14th. 90 years ago, our country made a promise to provide hardworking Americans with a way to earn a foundation for financial security in retirement. Social Security has helped generations of Americans stay out of poverty and live with dignity after a lifetime of hard work. Over 1.4 million Washingtonians currently receive Social Security, and for over 450,000 older Washingtonians, it is their primary source of income. This year, AARP is proudly honoring Social Security's legacy while fighting to protect and strengthen Social Security for older Americans today and for our kids and our grandkids tomorrow. Across the country, AARP is organizing hundreds of events and activities in every state, focusing on engaging Americans while hearing and sharing their stories. We're also doubling down on what we've done for more than 60 years, fighting to protect and strengthen the Social Security Americans have earned throughout a lifetime of hard work. Social Security has been stable and popular since its inception, but the program faces a long-term financial shortfall. If Congress doesn't act to protect Social Security in the next 8 years, payments could be cut. AARP polls show that a vast majority of Americans, nearly 80%, believe Social Security payments should not be reduced in any way. Across all parties, there is strong agreement that Social Security provides financial security for all Americans. Without it, the people who count on it most would really suffer. Our polls show that 87% of Americans say that Congress should act now rather than wait another 8 years to find a solution. And the sentiment to preserve and protect Social Security holds strong across gender, age, and party affiliation. Today, nearly 69 million older Americans receive Social Security payments, and over 183 million workers are paying into the program. Social Security payments come from money you've earned. At AARP, we will continue to fight to protect and strengthen Social Security because we earned it. We have a great session ahead for you with some very important speakers. First is Congressman Dan Newhouse. He was not able to attend in person today, but has offered tape remarks.
Hello, Congressman Dan Newhouse here, and I want to welcome you to Yakima for the AARP 90th anniversary event. Since the signing of the Social Security Act in 1935, the program has served millions of recipients. I've been working in Congress to cut taxes on Social Security and support those who have put their time into the workforce. I hope today that you learn more about the program at large and that the professionals here leave you with ways to make the most of your benefits. I also encourage you to reach out to my Yakima district office if you ever need assistance with a Social Security case, as my staff and I work with hundreds of constituents every year to ensure they get the benefits they deserve. I appreciate the opportunity to welcome you here today, and I hope you enjoy the event.
Now I'd like to introduce Stu Seibel. Stu is the former weather anchor and program director at KIMA TV. He has been a family caregiver and a longtime volunteer for AARP. Stu?
Good morning, everyone. I'm proud to be a volunteer for AARP based here in Yakima, and proud of the family caregiving program. That originally got me involved in AARP even before the program was adopted nationally. And I continue to be an advocate, not only for family caregiving, but for other interests of seniors, especially Social Security. 90 years young, or as we like to say, 90 years strong. What a celebration. I want to welcome the folks who are attending this, who are from the Yakima Valley or from the Yakima vicinity. I want to thank you so much for your interest in Social Security, your interest in learning more about it, and your advocacy, joining AARP to advocate for the continuance and growth of Social Security. All of this on a nonprofit basis and unbiased basis. Now I'd like to introduce the expert who's going to give us some tips on Social Security. And that expert is from Washington, D.C. in the Home Office, Jamie Lyell, who is the Social Security Program Manager at, for AARP nationally. Now, before joining AARP as Program Manager, Jamie served as a technical advisor with the Social Security Administration, driven by a passion for social services and, and really positively impacting the lives of others. Lyle spearheads the initiatives at AARP designed to enhance Social Security for millions of Americans. He has a master's degree in industrial organizational psychology and is currently pursuing his Master of Arts in Nonprofit Management at Johns Hopkins University. Jamie Lyell.
Thank you for that, Stu. Glad to be here. I guess I should just get started now. Huh? Straight to the presentation. Thank you. So welcome everyone again. Thank you for joining us for this Social Security, this special virtual event celebrating 90 years of Social Security. I'm honored to welcome you on behalf of AARP as we reflect on the legacy, evolution, and the future of one of the most impactful achievements in American history. This year, AARP is proudly celebrating Social Security's legacy while fighting to protect and strengthen it for older Americans today and for our kids and grandkids tomorrow. Today, we'll explore how Social Security has shaped retirement security for generations and how AARP has stood as a steadfast advocate in its defense. If you are just joining us for this series, I just want to give a little bit about myself. I love educating about Social Security at AARP, ultimately because it gives me a chance to empower our members with the knowledge they need to navigate their benefits. Ensuring fairness and understanding in Social Security is crucial, and being part of AARP allows me to make a positive impact on the lives of those who contributed so much to our society. And I do like to make a lot of sport references. So for this month, mine is Social Security is the ultimate baton pass. Each generation handing off security and dignity to the next. So let's begin by going back to the 1930s. The Great Depression had left millions of older Americans in poverty. In response, President Franklin Roosevelt signed the Social Security Act into law on August 14th, 1935. It was a groundbreaking moment, creating a promise of income security for retirees. This was the beginning of a new age of retirement that will become a cornerstone of American life. In the fabric of society, few institutions have woven themselves as deeply into American life, such as Social Security. Now, over the decades, Social Security has evolved to meet the changing needs of Americans. In 1939, benefits were extended to dependents and survivors. In 1950, the first cost of living adjustment was introduced, an increase of 77%. By 1960, disability benefits were expanded, and in 1961, early retirement age at 62 became an option. The 1972 amendments made COLAs, or cost of living adjustments, automatic, ensuring that benefits kept up with inflation. In 1983, facing a funding crisis, President Reagan signed reforms that included raising the retirement age and taxing benefits for higher income recipients. In 1993, President Clinton increased the taxable portion of benefits for those with higher incomes. These changes reflect how Social Security has adapted to economic realities while maintaining its core mission. And as we look to the future, we must acknowledge the challenges the 2025 trustees report estimates that full benefits can be paid until 2034. After that, payroll taxes would only cover about 80% of scheduled benefits, but this doesn't mean Social Security will disappear. But it does mean we need solutions. And AARP, as I'll highlight through this presentation, is actively engaging in shaping those solutions, whether it's strengthening the payroll tax base, adjusting benefit formulas, or ensuring fairness. AARP is committed to protecting Social Security for current and future generations. Now, AARP's commitment to Social Security began with our founder, Dr. Ethel Percy Andrews, who believed in dignity, independence, and purpose for older Americans. Since then, AARP has been a powerful voice in protecting Social Security from cuts, opposing privatization, and advocating for fair COLAs. We've mobilized millions of members, educated the public, and worked with lawmakers to ensure Social Security remains strong. Whereas the defending against harmful proposals or pushing for long-term solvency, AARP continues to be a champion for older Americans. And our highlights from AARP, Social Security phone service changes, that Social Security Administration plan to end the ability to apply for benefits by phone, requiring in-person or online identity verification. But through AARP's advocacy, AARP strongly opposed this change, citing the disproportionate impact on older Americans and adults, especially those in rural areas or with limited internet access. With this, Social Security Administration reversed course after public pressure. Phone applications remain available for all benefit types. And AARP emphasized that removing phone access would create barriers for people with disability, limited mobility, or tech challenges. And AARP continues to monitor SSA's service delivery to ensure accessibility and equity for all older Americans. And now, when we talk Social Security today and tomorrow, Social Security is the largest source of income for most retirees. According to the AARP's 2025 survey, about 80% of households rely on Social Security as a source of their retirement income, and roughly 1 in 4 households depend on it for 90% or more of their income. Social Security provides a guaranteed inflation-adjusted benefit that brings peace of mind to millions of Americans. Social Security enjoys broad support across all age groups, with 90% of respondents saying Social Security is important to their retirement security, not just for older adults, but for all generations. And again, as we look to the future, we must acknowledge those challenges. The 2025 trustees report estimates that full benefits can be paid until 2034. Now, after that, payroll taxes would only cover about 80% of scheduled benefits. This doesn't mean Social Security will disappear, but it does mean we need solutions. I would like to highlight AARP as a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. We have developed these guiding principles in our fight to protect Social Security in alignment with our mission. AARP believes that any proposal should finance Social Security for the long term. Social Security should continue to provide a stable foundation for retirement income for workers, families, and those affected by death or disability. Social Security should continue to protect those most in need. Also, it should make improvements to address the economic and demographic changes over the last 90 years so that Social Security can meet needs of future beneficiaries and their families. Also, that any proposal should continue to reward work by ensuring that all covered workers contribute equitably and receive payments based on their earnings, and ensure that workers' payments are clearly defined and cannot be outlived and are protected against inflation. And last, any changes to Social Security should protect current beneficiaries and those near retirement and be made gradually and fairly. Now that we've seen just how important Social Security is to so many Americans, I just want to review the 5 proposed solutions that Congress could use to protect Social Security. I'm going to go through them one by one, and as we consider these possible solutions, keep in mind that there are likely not one solution that will fully fund Social Security. It's more likely that Congress will arrive at a combination of all or some of these solutions. Solution one, let me explain what wage cap means. So in 2025, Social Security taxes are only paid on the first $176,100 of wage earnings. This threshold is called the taxable maximum or tax max. Any earnings above the taxable maximum are not subject to Social Security payroll tax. That means that people who make $1 million stop paying into Social Security at the end of February every year. Various proposals will help close the shortfall by either removing this cap altogether or setting it at a higher to capture the large amount of wage growth above the cap. Most of these proposals would increase payments to reflect those higher earners' contributions, but at a lower rate of return. Now let's look at some of the pros and cons of this solution. The pros would be removing or increasing the cap will significantly increase the revenue for Social Security, potentially closing a large portion of the funding gap. It could extend the solvency of Social Security for several decades at least. The cons is a partial solution. Eliminating or increasing the cap alone would not fully solve Social Security's long-term solvency issues. In addition, without corresponding changes to payments, these increased contributions at the high end will result in a very large Social Security check for high-income earners. Solution two. Second solution is a proposal to increase the FICA tax over time, raising both the employer and the employee shares of the payroll tax. Currently, employees and employers pay 6.2% payroll tax on the first $176,100 of annual wages, which is part of the FICA tax on your paycheck. Our variance of this proposal would phase in to increase over time and increase both the employer and employee share of the payroll tax. Now let's look at the potential impact of this option on the funding gap. Increasing payroll taxes 1 to 2% might fill anywhere from 25 to 50% of the gap. So I would like to go into the pros and the cons of this solution. Raising a payroll tax will significantly increase the funds available for Social Security, helping to close the funding gap. Another pro was since payroll taxes are paid both by 183 million current employees and their employers, a relatively small increase in payroll tax for both employees and their employers will have a significant positive impact on Social Security's finances. But it does come with cons. Taxes have an impact on the economy, so higher payroll taxes can reduce disposable income for workers and increase labor costs for employees, potentially impacting economic growth and employment. It's also a partial solution. While raising payroll taxes would help, it might not be significant enough on its own to fully address long-term solvency issues, making it necessary for additional measures. And last, a con would be that there could be a significant bipartisan political opposition to increasing payroll taxes on all workers and their employees or employers, even if only on higher earners. The third possible solution is raising the full retirement age. That current full retirement age is 67 years old for anyone born in 1960 or after. This solution will raise it to anywhere from 68 to 70 years old. And as you think about this one, consider that people are living longer than they did back in 1935 when Social Security was founded. Now, this change could happen over time to protect those currently near retirement, much like it did the last time Congress raised the full retirement age in 1983. The early claiming age of 62 will still need to be preserved because it is important for those who do very laborious work or have health or caregiving challenges. However, for every year that the full retirement age is increased, payments for those who claim at 62 would be cut by roughly 6%. Additionally, because of the long-term phase-in, time savings to the program would likely not take effect for several decades. Now, this option might fill the funding gap anywhere from 5 to 30%. depending on what the full retirement age is raised to. And again, pros and cons. So the pros of this solution, gradually increasing the full retirement age would significantly extend the solvency of the Social Security Trust Fund by reducing the number of years payments are paid out and increasing the reduction in payments for early retirement. Another pro is that some people live longer. Raising the full retirement age aligns with increased life expectancy, ensuring the system remains sustainable. And two cons of this, one being raising the full retirement age effectively reduces payments for all new retirees because they would have to wait longer to receive payments or accept reduced payments if they retire earlier. Second con of this, while life expectancy has increased overall in recent decades, not everyone is living longer, especially those with lower incomes. Moreover, not everyone can work longer, including those in physically demanding jobs. And the fourth solution, we have the fourth option here. We'll go over this with reducing payments for people with higher incomes. And Social Security is set up to, even though people with lower wage receive lower Social Security payments overall, they get a larger proportion of their contributions back in retirement than those with higher incomes. Some proposals would change the payment formula to return even less money proportionately to those who earn more during their lifetimes. Another approach would be some form of means testing, which would base the high earning person's payment on their income and assets at retirement, as opposed to what they paid into the system during their career. What's the potential impact of reducing payments for higher earners? It might fill anywhere from 15 to 30% of the funding gap. So let me move on to pros and cons. One pro, by reducing payments for those who are less dependent on Social Security, significant savings can be achieved without impacting quality of life. Another pro, this approach makes the system more progressive, ensuring that those who need payments the most receive them. But it does have one big con. Reducing or especially eliminating payments for high income earners might be seen as unfair by some, potentially undermining Social Security's popularity as an earned payment and potentially leading to public resistance. And the final solution, solution 5, use other funding. As we discussed earlier, Social Security is self-funded through payroll taxes. No other funds, including the general fund, are used to pay Social Security payments. This solution proposes using other funding sources to close the future funding gap. There are several other funding sources to consider, which include using money from the general fund for Social Security, taxing other forms of income like investment income to include workers who do not earn income through wages, or 3, creating a private market investment fund to help fund the Social Security Trust Fund. Lawmakers could borrow initial deposits, which could be paid back later as this new investment fund grows over time. Ultimately, it's important to note that this option is not so much a reform option as it is a backstop, meaning it's an option that can be used if other plans fail. It is hard to estimate how much it could fill the funding gap. And I have one pro for this option. The pro of this, use of general funds will provide a quick source of funding for Social Security without Congress having to make political difficult changes of raising taxes or cutting payments. It does come with some cons. 2, to be exact. Diverting money from the general fund would increase the funding deficit or reduce funding for other programs, possibly both. And also, this approach might face significant political opposition because it involves substantially adding to already high debts and deficits or reallocating existing resources from other priorities. And after those solutions, I would like to get into we've earned it, so let's defend it. Now, for 90 years, Social Security has been there for multiple generations, and AARP fights every day so that it stays strong for you and generations to come. If you are ready to speak up for Social Security, add your name and pledge to be part of this fight. You can scan this code on your screen. If you don't feel comfortable scanning this code, you can visit www.aarp.org/pledge Pledge Washington. And I would like to highlight some key facts in Washington. Now, one of those is being 1 in 5 residents, about 1 point out of the 1.45 million people receive Social Security, retirement, disability, or survivor benefits. The average payment in Washington state is $2,022 a month. So think about how much more you'll need to supplement your income. No state tax on Social Security in Washington, but it still drives our economy. Now, 31.7 billion flows into local businesses from Social Security payments in Washington. And also 1.1 million seniors rely on Social Security to avoid poverty. There are 486,000 households, 65 plus, that get at least half of their income from Social Security, with 215,000 people depending on it for 90% or more of their income. Ultimately, Social Security was designed as a safety net, not a full retirement plan, but for many, it's all they have. And engagement and advocacy. Now, AARP offers simple ways to get involved to make your voice heard. You can visit aarp.org/get involved to explore volunteer opportunities and advocacy efforts. If you care about protecting Social Security, you can also check out aarp.org/protect Social Security. And also aarp.org/we've earned it. Because we've earned these benefits, and together we can ensure they remain strong for generations to come. And resources for learning more. Now, if you're looking for trusted information about Social Security, AARP has you covered. You can visit www.aarp.org/social security for articles, videos, and updates. You can also get personalized answers at answers.aarp.org, or estimate your future benefits with our Social Security calculator, and also learn how to take action again at aarp.org/advocacy. Now, I know that was a lot of information. So just to get our brains going with maybe some potential questions, I want to just go over some commonly asked questions. But I have a question for the viewers to see if anyone wants to place it in the chat. How long do you have to work to qualify for Social Security? Just a novice check. Someone monitor the chat for me. Let me know if I get any answers. If anyone's paying attention. Have any answers there in the chat? Couldn't hear you, Marguerite. 20. I can read your lips. I can't hear you, but I can see you saying 20. So it's actually 10 years. So Social Security uses a system of credits called quarters, and you need to earn them 40 quarters, which is 10 years, to qualify for Social Security retirement. You can earn these credits by working and paying into the Social Security taxes known as FICA on your earnings. You can earn up to 4 credits a year, so it takes 10 years to earn 40 credits. And I want to go over some true or false. So is Social Security going broke? You'll see this probably quite often in the news. So Social Security will not run out of money as long as workers and employers continue to pay payroll taxes. It's a pay-as-you-go system. So revenue coming in from payroll taxes largely covers the payments going out. But Social Security, again, does face those long-term funding changes. So in about 9 years, when the reserves are used up, Social Security will only have significant or sufficient money coming in to pay about 80% of earned benefits. Another true or false, members of Congress do not have to pay into Social Security. Now that is false. All members of Congress, the president, the vice president, and most political appointees have been fully covered under the Social Security program starting in January of 1984. So all members of Congress, no matter how long they've been in office, have been paying into the system since 1984. And I'll do my best to try to keep it fun. So how many payments has Social Security missed? If I have anyone that just wants to just drop an answer in the chat, possibly, I'll try to read Marguerite's lips again. You see, 5 million. Is okay? Well, it is zero. Social Security has never missed a payment since it was created in 1935. Well, still one of the safest investments you can make in retirement. And what list does Social Security Administration release every year? Any answers in the chat? The fourth option. Okay. Well, if you say C is not C, even though you'd be surprised how many answers I've gotten for this question, but it is D, top baby name. So you can go to the Social Security Administration's website, ssa.gov, and see if the year you were born, if you might have the most popular name of the year. And with that, I want to thank everyone for listening, and I will open up to any questions you might have regarding Social Security history or any other Social Security questions you may have.
Can you hear me? This is Christina. Looks like Marguerite. Hi. Looks like
Yes.
Marguerite's having some challenges. We can work on her microphone, but I'm going to read out to you just a couple of questions that we are having if we want to take those.
Yes.
One of the questions is, what are the advantages of waiting until age 70 to claim benefits?
And that's a great question. So waiting until age 70 can really increase your payment take home, if you will, of your Social Security benefits. By waiting every year past your full retirement age, you can increase what you take home by 8%. And if you do have a follow-up question of what about months, I see that question quite often as well. Every month that you delay your Social Security, it can really increase your payment. So it can really pay to wait. And waiting after age 70 does not increase it any further. So once you reach age 70, that's when you have reached the maximum that you can receive in delayed retirement credits. And also you can apply up to 4 months before you want your Social Security payments to start.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jamie. Here's one that's kind of a long, kind of a specific, detailed type question. So we have someone who has been taking Social Security since 62. She ran a daycare for a while with several years of high income, but she recently, just the year before last, was a caregiver for her husband's mother, and she made a decent amount of money. So she's already been claiming Social Security, but 62. But will the Social Security take into account the her into her monthly payments these recent years that she's been working and has made a decent income? So does that kind of calculation change if you're working while collecting Social Security? Do they kind of like recalculate based on the top 10, 15, 30 years? Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense. So first, so I don't, why it's at the top of the mind. Social Security does take your highest paid 35 years. So if you started working at 16, let's say as a lifeguard, if you will, and then further into your career, you've worked somewhere else where you will pay more than a lifeguard. Social Security will take your highest paid 35 years and knock off one of those lower lifeguard years, if you will. And even if you make less later in your career, it'll still, or Social Security will still keep your highest 35 years. Now, to the other part of the question, so Social Security will take into account your earnings from being a caregiver, but only under certain conditions. So that would be your earnings had to been covered by Social Security taxes. So if you're being paid as a caregiver and those payments are reported as earned income, those FICA taxes, then those earnings can count towards your Social Security record. That means that they could potentially increase your benefit if they replace one of those lower lifeguard years, if you will, the top the 35 earning years. So, and Social Security does compute your benefits annually. They get that from the IRS to include any new earnings you might have received, and that's into your benefit calculation. And it is automatic. But you can also request a recomputation if you believe your recent earnings were not included. Ultimately, I know that's a big loaded answer, but what you can do is check your earnings record on your My SSA account, or you can call 1-800-772-1213. That's Social Security's 1-800 number, and ask whether your recent caregiver income will be affected or will affect your benefits. Those are some next steps.
Hi, Jamie. We're going to try this again. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you clearly now. Here we go.
So we have a bunch of questions that are coming in. The next one is, what are the income limits for collecting Social Security while working? And what happens if you go over them?
And pose that question again. I think it might have cut out on
So,
mine.
what are the income limits for collecting Social Security while working? So probably the 176. What happens if you go over them?
Yeah, so the income limits before full retirement age specifically. So if you're under your full retirement age, which is somewhere between 66 and 67, for every $2 you earn above that limit, for every $2 you earn above that limit, Social Security will withhold $1 from your benefits. So for in that example, for 2025, if you earn 35,400, that's 12,000 over the limit. Social Security will withhold 6,000 in benefits for the year, or about $500 a month. So the limit for joint filers is 62,160. That is, and also when you reach your full retirement age. I know I'm giving a lot of details, but when you go over the 62,160, Social Security would deduct $1 for every $3 earned above that limit. But only for the earnings before the month you reach your full retirement age. Once you reach your full retirement age, you can work as much as you want. No reductions whatsoever.
Thanks, Jamie. Here's the next question. There are a couple questions about survivor benefits.
Okay.
So the first one is, what steps should a family take to claim survivor benefits?
To collect survivor benefits, you want to reach out to the administration promptly. You want to make sure you have your Social Security number, the worker's record, or the one that the individual that unfortunately became predeceased. You want to have that Social Security number as well. Any documents as far as that you lived, or marriage certificates, such as that. And if you don't have all of the forms, actually Social Security will help you get everything you need from other means if you cannot locate these forms. Ultimately, you want to reach out to Social Security, that 1-800 number again, or you can visit your local field office as well. Make sure you make an appointment. The wait time is kind of long.
We'll get to that. So for survivor benefits, are there any special considerations for minor children or disabled family members?
Yes. So as for survivor benefits, if the grandparent was giving 50% or more of support to that grandchild and can support that with the administration, then your dependents or your grandchildren can actually claim on that worker's record for those survivor benefits. Also, and give me the rest of that question again, Marguerite.
The question was, are there any special considerations for disabled family members?
Yes, thank you. And also, that child would have to be under 18, but if they are disabled, they have until age 22, but the disability had to begin before they turned age 22. And they will be eligible as well on the survivor payments.
Okay, next question. If I retire early, but then decide to go back to work, can I change my mind about taking Social Security?
It is, you do have an option. It is a one lifetime option. Once you claim Social Security, you have a year to send it back, if you will. But you will have to pay back all of the money that was paid, any Medicare premiums that came out of your Social Security. You also will have to repay any garnishments such as child support or anything along those lines. You have to pay all of that back as well.
I'm going to go back really quickly about the issue around disability. There's a question about disability. How does a beneficiary's funds change if he becomes clearly more disabled or his wife's condition becomes terminal? Do they get increased funding? So if you're taking Social Security and you become more disabled, do your benefits change?
And that's a great question. I don't think I've actually received that question before. But disability is still based off, Social Security disability is still based off of what you put into the system. So for example, if you had just one primary diagnosis, and then now you have two, so a second diagnosis, Social Security won't pay any additional amount. It is still based off what you put into the system and when you claimed your disability. So unfortunately, no, that will not happen.
Okay. Here is a question about taxes. So in the big beautiful bill, the person says he heard that he no longer has to pay taxes on Social Security. When did this start? And do we have to contact Social Security to stop taxes being removed from our Social Security payment?
Okay, great question. So Social Security does come out of our payroll through FICA taxes. Now the big beautiful bill that was signed into law, I think July 4th for 2025. It's a 6,000 bonus deduction for seniors. So taxpayers age 65 and older can now claim 6,000 in deductions, 12,000 for couples if both are over 65. Now that doesn't really affect Social Security as we pay FICA taxes, the 6.2% from employees and employers. So that deduction is separate for when you actually do your taxes, but FICA taxes are still required. It is a pay-as-you-go system. I pay, you pay, we all pay to keep Social Security operational. So that is separate from Social Security. You do still have to pay the taxes.
Okay, so just to be clear, you still have to pay taxes on Social Security. That was not the change that they made.
Correct.
Okay. There are some questions about some of the internet rumors. And there are internet rumors about arbitrary reductions of standard financial support. And so long-standing recipients, people who've been collecting Social Security, are they going to be losing their financial support?
Hey, give me the first part of that question again.
So there's a lot of rumors on the internet about Social Security payments being cut or reduced. So for long-standing recipients, are they going to be losing support? Meaning, are their Social Security benefits being cut?
Yeah, so Social Security benefits aren't going to be cut, or if you're receiving Social Security for a while, there's nothing that's going to just stop your benefits. Ultimately, it's the solvency on the fund running out of reserves, 80% possibly being able to be paid. And this is only if Congress doesn't make or take action. Historically, Congress has always taken action when Social Security has faced these similar challenges. So ultimately, that's why AARP is fighting for you, because we've earned it. And get involved if it's meaningful for you, because when you call your state representatives, it really makes a difference.
So this next caller has said that they've heard about all of these fake recipients. What's going on?
So Social Security has a very strict identification process linked to your Social Security number. Claim representatives, benefit authorizers, administrative law judges. There's a very detailed process to getting someone their Social Security benefits. If someone, in an example, might have passed away and then someone didn't report that death, I would like to highlight the funeral director at a funeral home reports this directly to Social Security. Then the claim could be flagged as fraud, but most don't know. Social Security Administration also has special agents similar to other agencies such as the FBI or DEA. So if this is something, OIG will track those people down and they will have to face the same thing.
So aren't there individuals who are 150 years old claiming benefits?
That is false. I will highlight a little bit of insider knowledge that Social Security has something they use called a pneumodent that tracks someone's death and puts it into the Social Security system. Now, Social Security has been around since 1935. I don't think there's anyone alive before 1935 that will be claiming now, because that would mean they would be born before 1935 and still collecting. But ultimately, the pneumodent only goes back to 1950.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for dispelling that myth. What about the reduced Social Security workforce? What impact is that having on getting help?
That reducing the workforce has had some effect on the customer service at AARP. At Social Security, but AARP is urging Social Security to be transparent in how they tend to deal with this change and still make sure they keep up the same intensity to give that customer service that we all deserve. But it has made some changes for the field officers, and it has increased some phone wait times, but claims are still being processed.
Thank you. And then one last question that has come up, which is, do people need to be worried about the privacy of their Social Security information being misused?
There hasn't been any indication that you should be worried about that. But there are means that you can take to protect your Social Security number. There's free services out there if you want to put a freeze on your Social Security number if you feel that you should be worried. But there has been no indication in the news that your Social Security number has been misused or been taken advantage of through the administration itself.
Okay, Jamie, thanks for answering all those questions. And I'm going to wrap us up. Thank you all for joining us today. Let's take a moment here and reflect on what we've covered. Social Security remains a cornerstone of economic security for millions of Americans. And for over 90 years, it has delivered on its promise, never missing a payment. That's a legacy of reliability and trust we must continue to uphold. We believe that every person deserves timely, respected, and effective customer service when navigating their Social Security benefits. Whether it's getting answers, resolving issues, or accessing resources, help should be accessible and responsive. Equally important is the protection of seniors' information and payments. Safeguarding those systems is not just about technology, it's about dignity, safety, and peace of mind. And as we look ahead, we must stay committed to protecting Social Security for future generations. This program is not just a benefit, it's a promise, and it's a promise we must keep. That's why we're asking you to take action. Join AARP in fighting for Social Security by taking the pledge to stand up for its future. Your voice matters, your advocacy matters, Together, we can ensure that Social Security remains strong, secure, and sustainable. To take this pledge, use the QR code or go to aarp.org/pledgeWA. Thank you again for being part of this important conversation. Let's keep working together to protect what matters most. We hope you have a good rest of the afternoon.